Hello. Hey, welcome to Caffe Lena Poetry. I'm very excited that you're all here. It's nice to see everyone. We have a nice list of open mic poets. We're going to get to that. We're going to have our feature come up first. I'm going to start off with a poem by Donald Lev, who is, yay, Donald Lev. He used to edit Home Planet News, a poet out of the Woodstock area, and I'm a fan of his work. So this is a short, pithy poem called The Workshop. Maybe you just didn't do it right. Did you hold it straight out in front of your chest? Were your elbows unbent? Were your eyes open or closed? There's a difference between great art and yours. We've got to find out what it is. This is his last book called Focus, if you're interested in Donald Lev. He's a great sense of humor. So let's see. We're going to have our featured poet come up, who is James Henry Knippen. Let's hear it for him. That part of our event tonight is going to be streamed on Facebook or YouTube. So if you want to listen to his reading again, for those of you here, you can go home and pick up all that layers that you missed when you heard it the first time. James grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. He got an MFA from Texas State University. He comes to us tonight all the way from the exotic Utica, New York. His new book, his first book, is Would We Still Be? It won the 2020 New Issues Poetry Prize. Let's hear it for James for winning that poetry prize. I'm really tired tonight, so I need you all to just applause a ton. Keep things going here. His poetry has appeared in AGNI, Colorado Review, Crazyhorse, Denver Quarterly, and on and on. His website is janehenryknippen.com, and let's give him a warm welcome.
Hey, y'all. Carol, thanks so much for having me and for having me feature, and thanks to Caffe Lena for offering this awesome space for the celebration of poetry. My name's James Henry Knippen. I'm going to be reading from my book, Would We Still Be, which just came out this past December. I'll have copies in the back if anybody likes what they hear. After the reading, I'd be happy to sign one. I started coming to Caffe Lena poetry readings when they first started opening up after the pandemic. It wasn't quite a year ago, but it was close to a year ago. And I'm going to start with the first poem that I ever read at Caffe Lena, which is also the first poem in my book, cleverly titled Poem. Like a yellow light means drive faster. Like the metal stem of an umbrella makes one feel larger in a lightning storm. Like night makes passages vaster. Like death makes words mean more. Like rain fills footprints a fox left in silt. Like one's lips become lampreys, smuggling purple blood in death's wake. Like love is the word most likely to wilt. Like the heart is dragged like a lake. Like a good river hugs its cities to sleep. Like the nearest star to the darkness of shark eyes kisses the lilies alive. Like a slaughterhouse worships its guise of trees. Like a ghost bites the end of a line. Like a hawk forsakes a starling's feathers. Like a closet trapped inside a ghost opens and shuts like an aortic valve. Like a song despises the cage it weathers. Like a fractured bone forgives itself. Like a good moon carves its oceans askew. Like the human eyes sculpted into a whale sink back to a deeper, older dark. Like hope dismantles the gatehouse in you. Like the dead drag the moats of the heart. This next poem is called Oh, thank you. Feel free to save your applause to the end if you want, or if you want to applause or, make sounds or whatever. I don't know. I love that poetry sound that sometimes happens, like at the end of a poem, But don't feel obligated. This is called Morning. You awaken like dust at the threshold of a breath. Morning, cold as a stethoscope, holds you in bed like a vase holds a rose. What if poetry has no place in a peaceful world? You say the moon is a lantern among birds and a bird among lanterns. You say the moon is a window without wall or sill, but someone else's midnight fills your mouth. You say, but we would still have death. And at the foundries of worship, the workers drop their trowels and glare at the moon in the sky inside your mouth. Dolus eventualis, they decree when you promise the moon is still beautiful and death bears a baby rattle instead of a scythe. I should say, there's a weird sort of legal term in that poem, dolus eventualis, and my understanding of it as somebody who is not a lawyer, is that it's when you do something knowing that it could possibly harm or kill somebody, not that you're intending to do it, but you do that action anyway. This next poem is called Sonnet. It's not going to sound like a sonnet when I read it at all, but I promise you it's 14 lines long, I swear to God. Sonnet. Lung, the wren's wherewithal, voice, mosses changing colors in the rain, spine, tide of stones, memory, a loose bone, stirring in the utter breeze, skin, ignescent shadow of forest shoulders, blood, mortality grows like a tree, ear, the storm inside the cricket passes through the bedroom window. Tooth, the moon is in the hayloft. Mind, raven feathers in a wine glass. Gut, in a falcon's talons, the snake becomes a limp bed spring. Liver, dead wasps gather in the rafters. Tongue, a mackerel casts pewter in a dark tent. Eye, warped classroom window. Heart, a gong makes headstones shatter. Bone, the chimney is a hiding place for ghosts. Marrow, the hush is deep. Hair, we would climb out through the sky. Hand, desperate as gravity. Throat, once a holy cannon. Soul, the voice recedes into radiating darkness. A wren, which is what death is. A wren, which is what death makes, a song that echoes, which is what we listen for, the nearness of feathers, which are those that bind us, conduits of blood and warehouses of air, which is where we begin to hunger for the sky inside our bodies, which is where a wren collects twigs, grass, nest things. You might notice the words wren and moon recurring a lot throughout my reading. Not that that was really intentional when I wrote these poems. Those are just two of my favorite words, not only in terms of the images they signify, but also like the way they feel in my mouth, wren. I just love saying that word. So these next three poems I'll read, I won't provide a lot of context aside to say from they were written during the when the previous administration was in office. This first one is called Couplets for Hopelessness. I want to make a beautiful song. A wasp is dying inside the guitar. An early snowfall bells the trees, the moon an untangleable yarn. The fog is a distant bell, rings apt. Boats are burning on the river. Two pairs of eyes erect a bridge, the moon a moth-shaped riddle. They say to exist is to occur forever. Death, like sex, invents a skeleton. Like love, an echo is usually two, the bullet a clue nothing comes of. Fall wears scarecrows like a rite. Church bells dawn like bloodletting. Prayer encircles a storm in skin, the dead doe's black eye rippling. We exchange pain like a currency. My blood spins like a clock. Birds gather like applause on wind. Is my soul an empty mailbox? The wind is a shawl, is apt enough. Did you name your shadow after love? Crow and fox blood look the same. Did you call your soul a tattered moth? But wasn't the soul the beauty of its own saying, form more malleable than air? Wasn't the wind a way of believing that the soul was there? I once believed the soul was there. Night is a crow pecking headstones. My skin disguises the gore of me, the same that hides your bones. This poem is also called Poem. I wanted to rescue the moon from our hopes. I wanted to rescue our hopes from hell. I wanted to rescue hell from existence. I wanted to rescue existence from itself. This next poem I'll read, it's called Apologies, and I should say it's in 20 parts, but each part is only 2 to 3 very short lines, so it goes really quick. I've never read this one aloud before, so this will be my first time doing this one. Each section is titled Apologies. 1, chrysanthemum dying, or love is a firefly smeared across the backside of an eyelid. 2, dear moon, I broke you as often as the wind is a ghost. 3, sparrow, forgive me my precision, the tiny metal pellet in your music box. 4, unto poetry, to call the heart a pine cone, too apt, not apt enough, I sent dead rain instead. 5, ashes, gravestones fluttered in my lungs, I kept my tongue dark. 6, adjudications, like a song is inexorable, like a wren could be its only culprit. 7, unto nature, in meadows I gathered pieces of birds, I did this like a tree assesses darkness. 8, if not thunder, then moon, then moth, then sparrow when barrenness sufficed. 9, caterpillar lantern, for a poem, I wanted you most of all. Your ghost never came back. This inadequate scrap. 10, senescence, for not confiding in the chill these clouds resuscitate. 11, reconnaissance, your shadow self, not mine to know, blood red as a barn, describing snow. 12, as a flower in early spring, which is to say incredulous, imagining the soul could be circadian. 13, as a temple, desire ate judgment and grew like a hole in a tooth. 14, brimstone, hatred mistaken for love, a palimpsest upon my burning lectern, I buried my lanterns. 15, what falls unsown, ectasis of my penitence, a cricket with wings resolved to soil. 16, as a wren, my dictums groundless and burbling like a public fountain. 17, battle trance, the song was not my own. My violence had been inherited. It was my own violence. 18, abetment, we were as ruthless as moths. You were a moon of tempered glass. 19, suppositions, I kept them like beetles in a terrarium polished with blood. 20, Uyui, last time I visited my tomb, it looked like the world inside a mirror. Let me say this about that. I don't even know if I pronounced it right. Uyui. It's spelled E-U-O-U-A-E. It's the longest word. At least it was in Guinness or something like that. It's the longest word composed entirely of vowels, and it made it into some dictionaries. And what it is it's like the progression of notes that's supposed to end like a religious song or like a Gregorian chant. You know, at the end we're like Hallelujah. That's the word for that. It's composed of 6 vowels. This next one is called Tercets for Fear. This is kind of a weird one. They're all kind of weird. But like this is I should say this, you know, back when I lived in Texas, I was in a a car crash. And it was probably one of the most scary experiences of my life. I got PTSD as a result of being in this car crash. It actually gave me psoriasis. I didn't know that an emotional experience could cause physical reactions like that, but that happened. But anyway, after I was in this car crash, for maybe about a year, maybe slightly more, every few months, I would think I was like dying of something, and I'd go to my doctor, and my doctor would be like, "You're fine," and then I'd be, happy enough for a while, and then a couple months later, I'd be like, "Oh no, this other thing is killing me," and I'd go back to the doctor, and they're like, "Come on, you're fine." But anyway, this is a poem called Tercets for Fear, and it's like a representation in language of the emotional sort of roller coaster following this car crash. So, Tercets for Fear. If the lily has a song, snow on the red carpet. If a song is the cloaked thing carving the throats out of roses, red snow on the white carpet. If the dandelion crows, bees without stingers. If the crow murders a sleeping lion, stingers without bees. If daylight wears the blade-like edges of geranium shadows like gloves from a lost and found, tender petals fall on pebbles. If night is a spigot unspooling its ropes into pools among foxes and cups, tender pebbles grow on freckles. If calendars ripen like clocks that hang from paper walls and look like apples, fieldstone abatis. If our bodies fill with weeds, fire advances. If the cellar of a lake is riddled with videotapes of angels making love to demons, window in a maze. If a candle is a demon's gaze, one wall shows another. How am I doing on time, Carol?
You're fine.
Yeah? Do maybe like two more? Perfect. Okay. I was only going to do one more, but I feel like I'm going kind of quick up here. I don't know. This one is called Hope. For the crickets whose death your voice becomes, for the grace of lunchtime moons, for the veil of dark, dying elms that rumor low, your heart will not endure you. When your soul feels caught like a flag sounds, when the sky is an urn turned inside out, when your love is returned like a library book, but with words crossed out, and revere what cannot reciprocate, and bow like crickets to the meadows, and evaporate like moths to moonlight. You'll be palaced in sky like a kinglet. You'll bend like time around each tree, trunk and limb and leaf and bird. You'll nestle like a lullaby. I will stop the day that I inhale a dragonfly, and neither of us gets hurt. And so I started with the first poem in the book, so I'll end with the last poem in the book. This one I'm going to preface just a little bit. One of my favorite poems is by Mark Strand, and it's called Elevator. And it's a poem in two sections, and I think I can recite it. So I'll just recite it really quick. Mark Strand's Elevator. 1. The elevator went to the basement. A man stepped in and asked if I was going up. I'm going down, I said. I won't be going up. 2. The elevator went to the basement. A man stepped in and asked if I was going up. I'm going down, I said. I won't be going up. Poem. So I was like, that is so cool. Like to have a poem that's, both sections are the same, and somehow if that second section wasn't there, if that first section wasn't repeated, it wouldn't be nearly as creepy or interesting. So I always make the mistake of reciting that poem before I read mine because that poem is way better than my poem. But it got me thinking. And Mark Strand and I are clearly not the only poets to have done this. But this last poem is just the same sentence repeated 4 times, with line breaks being different every time it's repeated. So I'll try to read the line breaks. Again, thanks so much for listening. And if you like what you heard, I've got books out there after we're done here. So it's called Lilies. My inheritance is the names of flowers, my tongue, a red headstone speaking the names of lilies. My inheritance is the names of flowers, my tongue, a red headstone speaking the names of lilies. My inheritance is the names of flowers, my tongue, a red headstone speaking the names of lilies. Our inheritance is the names of flowers, our tongues, red headstones speaking the names of the lilies. Thank you.
Right, James Henry Knippen. Let's hear it for him again. That was great.